Because.
Only to find out 50 years later, after taking a DNA test, that he is Tunisian.
Wait until you find out that you are not allowed to buy a DNA test in Israel without a court order. Watch that whole video of hers. She really goes in about the disappeared children of Israel, and it is beneficial to understand the deeper plot here, because there are a lot of things that are set in place for a reason. You just have to ask why.
So the Norwegian government has said that Norwegian Palestinians that has been evacuated from Gaza needs to pay for their own trip back home to Norway. And this is the same government that spent over $6 million to get Ukrainian pets here. So like the next time you want to call Norway progressive, ask yourself progressive for who?
My name is Dora and I live in a remote village called Mapapa. I started a free school that caters for girls that have been rescued and are doing amazing, right?
Yes, teacher!
My village is one of many that suffer the effects the most from climate change. It is because rich populators are the ones getting the most out of this, which is financial benefit. And people that live in my village, like my students and myself and the local people that live in my village, are the ones that suffer the most. Join me and 330,000 others by signing this petition to make rich populators pay.
So I've been doing pretty much nonstop research, and I was looking into Israeli history, and I found something that is both incredibly heartbreaking and incredibly interesting, and I kind of think more people should be talking about it. And what I came across was stories about the disappeared children of Israel. So the text above me is a little bit small, and what it says is that in the state of Israel's early years, a number of parents in immigrant transit camps were told that their babies had died. Their families believed that the babies were abducted by the Israeli authorities in the 1950s and were illegally put up for adoption to childless Ashkenazi families, Jews of European descent. A younger generation is demanding answers. So let's look at the timeline at this for a little bit. So in 1948 is when the Nakba happened, and we know over 700,000 Palestinians were expelled. At the same time, there were now Jewish migrants coming in from Europe, we know that, but also from the Arab world. So there was a lot of Jewish people from Yemen, Morocco, Tunisia, as well as the Balkans that were coming in to seek refuge in this new utopia for Jewish people. When these Arab Jews arrived, they were put into immigrant camps, and racism was pretty rampant. Ben-Gurion, Israel's first ever prime minister, described the Mizrahi, which would be the Middle Eastern Arab Jews from Arab countries, as rabble and a generation of the desert, concluding that they lacked a trace of Jewish or human education. In the early 1950s, he warned, "We do not want the Israelis to become Arabs. It is incumbent upon us to struggle against the spirit of the Levant, which corrupts individuals and societies." There were even documents found where Israeli officials were discussing whether or not Mizrahi Jews were worth being in the Israeli army because they didn't think that they were mentally capable enough. Yemeni Jews actually described this event as their Holocaust, and according to them, they claim over 4,000 children were stolen. So the Israeli government has actually investigated this 3 times. First in the 1960s, where they said that there was maybe 300 children and most of them died, and some of them they can't track, and that's all they could find. Then there was another investigation done in the 90s when this article was written, because there was actually a lot of violent rebellions from the Yemeni Jews who were trying to demand answers for what was going on. Then in 2016, an Israeli cabinet minister named Hanegbi basically confirmed that this did happen. He said, "They took the children and gave them away, I don't know where." There were a lot of documents that were declassified in 2016, but all of them are not going to be declassified until 2071. The Israeli government, for right now, kind of maintains that there was something horrible that happened, but they claim it was mainly negligence and there was no systemic plot to steal Yemeni children and give them away to European Jews. In 2071, we might finally get real answers on what happened to these children, but until then, we are seeing stories like this one from Gil Grunbaum, who for his whole life assumed that he was the son of the wealthy Holocaust survivors that raised him, only to find out 50 years later, after taking a DNA test, that he is Tunisian. There are also stories of Yemeni children who have grown up and are taking DNA tests and finding long lost siblings or other family members that they thought were dead. And that really brings me back to the beginning, which is this and what Ben Gurion said. It's very reminiscent of what happened to Indigenous children in America. But what I really want to point out is that this makes it pretty clear to me that this is not a Muslim-Jewish issue. This is a very clear trend of trying to de-Arabize the Jews that arrived to make sure that there was no Arab culture left in the Levant.
You don't have belly belly. You don't. You have travel tummy, which is something that you get when you go to a new country and you're eating different cuisines and you're eating different ingredients, spices, cooking methods that are different from your home country. And your gut gets upset because think about it. Our gut microbiome when we were born and raised in a certain country gets used to those foods. So as soon as you introduce something new, it's going to freak out. It's going to try and get rid of it either up there or down there. So I'm just saying, let's retire blaming the destination for your sickness, because it's not Bali's fault that you have Bali belly. It's not Delhi's fault that you have Delhi belly. You can get that anywhere that you travel and they have a different type of cuisine, okay? It's rude, it's disrespectful, we don't need to say it. And I understand it's just a lack of education around why it might not be, nice to say these words. But the Balinese people have been eating this type of food their whole life and, they're fine. And then we come in and say, oh, it made me sick. Don't you think that we're the problem? Because I think we're the problem, okay? So just be careful when you go to a new country. Be careful what you eat. Understand that your gut microbiome isn't going to like a lot of the local cuisines. So there's a lot of ways that you can go around getting sick. You just have to be smart about it. I can help if you need some tippies. But yeah, let's not do the Bali belly thing anymore. It's travel tummy. It's normal. And don't be naive and think that you're not going to have to deal with it if you travel to a new country. Okay. Peace and love.
You don't care, do you? You don't give a single shit for my feelings or anyone else's. You're just like everyone else.
Hey everybody, you know what's so hilarious? When women get beat up, I find copious amounts of humor in the fact in of itself that sometimes women find themselves helplessly trapped in domestic and or intimate partnerships with male companions who physically brutalize and abuse them. Isn't that funny? Well, guess what? Maybe if the stupid, dumb female who likes astrology knew how to cook, then maybe she wouldn't get beat up as badly. Get it? So when women are in marriages, traditionally they're supposed to take on the role of cooking for their partner. So if they don't do that, then that sometimes means that their abusive husband will start to beat them. Did you know that? But I mean, who even really cares? Women deserve to get beat up, right, fellas? Right, fellow men? Do you guys like me now? But then again, what do I know? I just do crowd work, right? Yeah, take that.
That's weird.
It's no coincidence that Palestinians and people who are advocating for a free Palestine are also talking about Congo and Sudan. Unfortunately, the people who are on the Stand With Israel side have really only been obsessed with talking about October 7th, that one day in isolation, Hamas, or tunnels associated with Hamas. And then if they're talking about any sort of historical context, it's selectively giving context to Jewish people by talking about the Holocaust. So it basically skips from 1940s to October 7th. We know that Israel is supporting the genocide in Congo and financially benefits from it. You can tell who an oppressed group is by who that group supports and who supports that group.
We just got out onto the beach and got a phone call.
He pānui ohorere kei te haere. We've just heard that there's a beached whale on Te Oneroa Tohe south of the Te Taki stream entrance.
With our tōraha, we treat them like you would any of our whānau members, like a tūpapaku. You don't leave them once you've found them. Someone's always with them. Then we go through the process of naming that tōra, letting Tangaroa know that we've now got her, we're taking care of her, this is her name, this is how she's known to us. So Hinero Whiro, she was one of our tupuna who ran the Western Ridge. Hinero Whiro's good name.
Waiting o tēnei prau.
Hinero Whiro.
Waiting o tēnei tōra.
Hinero Whiro.
Aumie, huie.
I think not teaching your child to be independent is doing your child a disservice. And teaching them to depend on a romantic relationship is extremely dangerous. It makes a child way more likely to enter and stay into an abusive relationship. Because at that point, it's not about wanting the relationship, it's about needing it. Because she's not going to be able to financially support herself, therefore she's going to have to stay in relationships even if they are not good for her. And I see this problem time and time again, where women are kind of taught these things. And I'm not saying, obviously, being a stay-at-home mom and stuff is a full-time job, and I commend you if that is what you choose to do. But a lot of times I see when women get in these type of relationships, something goes wrong, the husband cheats, whatever it might be, they get a divorce, and the woman is left with absolutely nothing. Because she spent her whole life serving her husband and not having any financial outlet for herself. That is in my opinion, a very, very dangerous place to put your child. Obviously, some of these lifestyles are what people agree upon, but teaching them to depend on people, I do not think is a very healthy thing to do whatsoever.
I don't want to hear anyone talking shit on girl math. You know what boy math got us? Every single world war, economic collapse, misogyny, NFTs.
Oh my gosh, guys. First silk press of the season, looking so stunning. And now that I have your attention, did you know that multiple hospitals have been directly hit with bombs in Gaza, including the largest hospital in the region that has 37 premature babies? Silence is in fact violence, and if you have any sort of platform, or even if you don't, not speaking out about the hundreds upon thousands of people who are being directly affected by this genocide, you are part of the problem. And if you didn't already know, this filter, the funds are directly going to support Palestine. A very, very simple, easy way to support the people of Palestine. You have to post it, it can be private, and it has to be at least 10 seconds.
Fair. That is not fair! That is not fair! 74 is the perfect way!
Oh my god, there's a major global conflict. What are your thoughts?
You know how fucking morally bankrupt you have to be to oppose boycotting as a concept? Like, y'all would walk straight up to Dr. King and then been like, but the bus drivers need their money too. Why are you guys doing this? Corporations really cared about their minimum wage workers. They would not be paying them the minimum amount before the law stops them from paying them any less. The CEO's on like his second yacht purchase. Second thing is that while I do think that people who are on social media have very unhealthy parasocial relationships, and there's kind of a where's Ja situation happening right now where you really shouldn't expect your baking person to suddenly pivot into content explaining why the US wants the Suez Canal so badly. But wanting to know if the person who makes baking videos supports a genocide isn't like a crazy opinion. Like if you guys found out that every Wednesday night I was hosting a toddler fight club in the basement of my apartment building with like no holds barred, cage match, gambling allowed with only a $45 entry fee, hypothetically, I'd imagine that you guys would want to stop supporting me. In the same way that there's a major global heated crisis that everyone in the world is commenting on, people around the world are protesting about from nation to nations. There have been multiple UN votes and wondering like, hey, random silly sketch guy who makes sketches about things going on sometimes, do you have a thought on this? It's not an unreasonable opinion. And the irony of making a sketch like that is your political opinion. You're saying how you feel. And to be quite honest, like, the smart choice is just to not say anything. If you really feel like you can't say anything appropriately, then just don't. Making a show of why it's so unreasonable for anyone to ever ask you this question, to me personally, and this is just an opinion thing, it's not all the time. There are people who have valid reasons for like holding off on expressing things. But sometimes it just feels like people are more so concerned about saying which thing will make people look at them the best. And I think that people who don't know are more concerned about how what they will say will affect their like following rather than like the actual thing going on. We'll go off, I guess, put on that red scarf and make the opinion that isn't your opinion sound crazy and delusional.
Hey, are you even paying attention to me right now?
All that crap you hear on TV about communication and expressing feelings is a lie. No one really cares what you have to say.
Energy companies profit in crisis, medical companies profit in crisis. Reckon your government profits in crisis? Is it so easy to profit in crisis? I took a look at your history, many a book, many a century. Murder and killing, more murder conspiracy, year by year by year. Nothing is different, so backwards, how you gonna sort it? Run away, then you come back crawling. Make a plan, then you're the tyrant. You had freedom, somebody bought it. I swore that I was set out to do something, I came back with nothing. No, I can do nothing, there's nothing much good and that is fine. I don't fucking care what it used to be like. I take my land, I make my land, and I'm sure there's nothing great about Britain anymore. I take my land, I make my land, and I'm sure there's nothing great about Britain. When words against the system are dismissed as complaints, then complaint has no.
America's planning to kill everybody on Earth to keep themselves on top.
Yes, that's right.
Funding conflicts in Ukraine and Palestine to sell their dirty fracking greenwashed LNG abroad. In the last 8 years, America's gone from no LNG exports at all to the #1 exporter in the world.
That seems significant.
And they're about to build 20 massive new LNG facilities, locking in emissions that guarantee an unlivable world.
A giant ball of oil.
But Europe buys its gas from Russia, Qatar, and Iran, the only 3 countries with larger reserves than the USA. It's convenient that America's looking like the better dealer now, unless they get sanctioned or blocked over Palestine and Ukraine.
Hey, wait a minute.
So the USA's on the verge of global energy dominance, because its competitors are blocked by the wars it funds.
Nothing for you!
Since energy's a geopolitical tool of American power, stopping climate change is bad for American money.
Scottish, but I need to point out 3 things that are very obviously wrong in your video, Tammy. First of all, Scottish rates built different. The poppies look a little different and they have the cards at the bottom, not at the top. You would hold it with the card at the top, and then it would be upside down. Second of all, you're really expecting a member of a nationalist party who is not a royalist to sing God Save the King when A, it's not even the Scottish national anthem, B, it's actually the English one that's just been forced on the rest of us, and C, it contains a derogatory verse towards Scottish people. Three, you in your comment section need to learn the difference between leader of a political party and leader of a party in Westminster, because I know I'm not wearing my glasses, but last time I checked, Humza Yousaf is not a bald white man. That's embarrassing for you.
I'm Polyester, and today we're live in the studio with 3 absolute heroes of mine. Mr. Shein. Mr. H&M and Mr. Zara. Now we all know that the fashion sector is leading the way on tackling the climate crisis. Whether through creating a conscious collection that contains more synthetics than their regular collection, or a noble commitment to 4.2% less carbon emissions. Today we're chatting about how many gorgeous garments our favourite brands produce per year. This is Speak Volumes. Starting with you, Mr. Shein, do you know how many items you produce per year?
Yes.
And will you tell us how many items that is?
No.
Same question for you, Mr. H&M. Do you know how many items you produce per year?
Yes.
And will you tell us how many items that is?
No.
And finally, Mr. Zara, do you know how many items you produce per year?
Yes.
And will you tell us how many items that is?
No.
Excellent. Now over to Landfill with the weather.
Thanks, Polly. The world is either completely underwater or totally on fire. Back to you in the studio.
Fantastic.
Am I good at screaming? I think I am good at screaming. I can scream for you.